feel about that whole situation. And it's a tricky thing for me to answer because I felt so many things in the last year or so. There's times I felt scared. There's times I felt humiliated. There's times I felt embarrassed. And ultimately, I just felt terrible.
What is going on, MD? Let's try to have everything up. Miles Turner night. If you want to chase, feel free. Malcolm Brogdon is questionable, but I'm probably avoiding that Miles Turner situation. I think there are some really good center plays on the slate. Miles Turner not being one of the ones that I am personally targeting, but yeah, I mean, this slate is pretty smooth sailing. Really just two injuries that we're really waiting for. One being Malcolm Brogdon. He is questionable with an illness. If he were to miss, would be a really big bump to Karis LeVert. I like Karis LeVert a lot tonight regardless. TJ McConnell would end up likely starting at point guard. He would be more of a FanDuel play. On Draftkings, they priced him up to... He's $4,900. I mean, he would still be interesting over on Draftkings, I suppose. I love the matchup against Portland. That's one of the games I'm targeting tonight. And then we're still waiting on the injury news of Brandon Ingram. Now, if Brandon Ingram is ruled out, Devontae Graham and Jonas Valanciunas gets pretty significant bumps. I like their prices still on both sides. Would definitely become pretty good plays on the slate, but unfortunately that game starts like 3 hours after lock, and so I'm not expecting us to get that news until about an hour, 45 minutes before that game. So I'll take advantage of that over on Price Picks, but really just not targeting that game. I think there are plenty of plays where you don't really have to think about the New Orleans guys. It's a pretty tough matchup for them anyways against the Golden State Warriors, who have been pretty good defensively since the beginning of last year. But yeah, we could just go over some of the news that we've gone throughout the day. It hasn't really been all that much, but I've really condensed my sheet and players that I'm targeting tonight. If you guys want to know exactly what I'm playing on FanDuel, DraftKings, and Prize Picks, you guys can join my Patreon. That is linked down below. $25 for the rest of the month. I think it's a pretty damn good deal. Feeling really good about tonight. Condensed that sheet as much as I possibly could, but let's just go over the slate. All right, guys, we will start off with the Brooklyn Nets versus the Detroit Pistons. I'm going to kind of go through this pretty quick because with some of these teams, I'm just really, with it being 9 games, there's no point of going through every single team, especially when I'm really not considering players from many of these teams. And with the Brooklyn Nets, it's kind of the similar situation. We got a 211 over-under. Nets are currently 10.5-point favorites, so definitely some blowout risk in this game. They're going to be without Kyrie Irving and Nicholas Claxton. But like I said, the rotations outside of Kevin Durant and James Harden are really hard to pin down. I think there are plenty of good plays on the slate in that 4 to 5K range where, taking some of these Brooklyn guys just really doesn't seem all that enticing. If Joe Harris starts knocking down his shots, obviously he could be a pretty good play, but he's very, very scoring dependent. So yeah, the upside with playing next to Durant and Harden just also isn't there for these guys in these price ranges. Kevin Durant, James Harden up top. I like James Harden more than Kevin Durant, but really not considering either of those guys on today's slate. The Detroit Pistons, really just one guy that I'm interested in, and that is Cade Cunningham. Chris Smith is out for this team, and Killian Hayes is currently a game time decision. Actually, I love Cade Cunningham. Today I'm playing him regardless on both sides. But if Killian Hayes is in fact ruled out, that will give some more ball handling responsibilities. We should see more assist opportunities for Cade Cunningham. So Killian Hayes being out would just be a bigger boost to Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham, game 1, 22.9% usage rating. Game 2, 24.1%. Game 3, 36.3% usage rating. They have said that he is completely off of his restrictions, and that includes both minutes and the back-to-backs. This is the second leg of a back-to-back. Even if this game blows out, even if he is, his minutes are cut back slightly because of the minutes, because it's the second leg of a back-to-back, I'm still expecting him to play high 20s minutes at a minimum. We saw one of the games blow out the other day. He still came in and ended up playing 29 minutes, so I think that's the floor. And he has had a 29.4% true shooting percentage through his first 3 games. Has shot very, very poorly. I mean, look what he shot last game. He shot 4 for 17 and still put up 39 fantasy points. The rebounding numbers, I think, will stick after looking at what he had done in college. But yeah, I'm really strong on Cade Cunningham today. I know with him being a newer player, a rookie player in his 4th game, things are going to be really volatile for him. But I think at the end of the day, a couple months from now, we're going to see that we were able to play Cade Cunningham at $4,600, and we're going to be kicking ourselves if we're not taking advantage of that, because he's eventually going to be priced in that 6 to 7K range. Move over to the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Washington Wizards at 220.5 over-under. Wizards are 1.5 point favorites. The Grizzlies are going to be without Dillon Brooks yet again. Washington and Memphis Grizzlies both play very, very fast. This should be one of the fastest games on the slate. We saw the minutes finally come up for a guy like Reggie Jackson Jr. at $5,600. His shot was falling. He played 30 minutes, put up 42 fantasy points. I told you guys this would happen. Once we saw some normalcy from this rotation from Reggie Jackson, Steven Adams specifically, because their minutes have been getting cut back for either blowout, foul trouble, or the bench unit playing better. But I think more times than not, especially in this matchup against the Washington Wizards front court, Reggie Jackson Jr. should have a very, very good time. I love Desmond Bane as well. Desmond Bane, one of the best small forward plays on a slate where small forward is relatively weak. And then Steven Adams, he draws the number 1 matchup in the league when it comes to the Washington Wizards front court. Very undersized. He should be able to do whatever he wants rebounding wise. I don't know if the upside is really there. I mean, I know he has shown upside this year, but 30 fantasy points is definitely in the realm of possibilities. And at $4,700, that is a very solid outcome. Really just focusing on Reggie Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, and Steven Adams from the Memphis side. On the Washington Wizards, they are going to be without Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura, Anthony Gill, Cassius Winston, and Davis Bertans. Kyle Kuzma was injured last game, ended up not returning, but as of this morning, he's off the injury report. He is already confirmed starting and active in this game, so everybody is healthy on this team. I do want to mention that Daniel Gafford, since returning, that the coaches had said that he has looked good. He's just not in full conditioning shape right now, but he has been a very good permanent producer since the beginning of last year. It's not the worst matchup. $4,400 though. One of these, him and Montrezl Harrell really split the 48 center minutes. Nobody else plays any minutes at center, and they're going to need to match the size of Steven Adams. Not that that would matter anyways, but Gafford, one of these slates, he's going to end up playing more than Montrezl Harrell once he's back in shape, and then that's when everybody's going to hop on him. If you want to get on Daniel Gafford at $4,400 now, it is a very volatile play, but he's still starting. If he closes one of these games, he's going to end up playing 26-28 minutes, and he's going to destroy this $4,400 price tag, and there's going to be plenty of popular centers in this price range. Gafford is a pretty good pivot off of them. Move over to the San Antonio Spurs versus the Orlando Magic at 213.5 over under. Spurs are currently 3.5 point favorites. The Spurs are going to be without Jakob Poeltl and Zach Collins. Drew Eubanks ended up grabbing the start last game. He's going to grab the start again today. He played 19 minutes last game. Thad Young played 22 minutes. And then the other 6.5 minutes were at the end of the game when Keldon Johnson ended up closing as the 5. The Spurs ended up running a small ball lineup to close it out against a small Mavericks team with no Kristaps Porzingis. But this is against the Orlando Magic, who have Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr. starting in the front court, two legitimate centers. So they're going to need the size from Eubanks and Thad Young here. I think that Thad Young still probably plays more than Eubanks. He probably closes this game out. I like him a ton on FanDuel. On Draftkings, these guys are probably a bit too expensive for me considering the limited minutes upside for them. I love DeJounte Murray, but his price is just not very enticing right there. Actually, if you go over here to Prize Picks, I do like the over on DeJounte Murray. He was at 38.5, I believe, but I still like him at 39.5 over his fantasy score. Move over to the Orlando Magic. They are going to be without Markelle Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Michael Carter-Williams, Etuan Moore. Gary Harris is officially active. Jalen Suggs continues to lead this team with a 26.7% usage rating, but the minutes are pretty volatile. If he's playing well, they will give him more minutes, so he's an interesting tournament option at 5,100. Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., I think are both pretty good plays. Since they have started next to each other this year, their minutes have become much more secure. So I like both those guys, but specifically Mo Bamba over on FanDuel, where he has the block and steal upside. I like him quite a bit over on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I think I consider Wendell Carter Jr. maybe a little bit more than Mo Bamba, just giving the price discrepancy. But really not focusing all that much on that game as a whole. Move over to the New York Knicks versus the Milwaukee Bucks at 217.5 over under. Bucks are currently 4-point favorites, and actually I think that moved down to 3 points. The Knicks have no injuries. Nerlens Noel and Taj Gibson ended up returning last game, and Taj Gibson was a DNP while Nerlens Noel ended up picking up 18 backup center minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if this game ended up going pretty small, with Randall sliding down to the 5, with the Bucks not having Brook Lopez, because we know that no matter what, they're going to close with Giannis at the 5. And so it would make more sense for Randall to be out there rather than like some stationary Mitchell Robinson. So I think I'm not really on Mitchell Robinson as much as I was earlier in the day when I was looking into it. And then on the Bucks side, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, and Dante DiVincenzo are all out. Drew Holiday is still probable to come back in this game. I'm expecting him to give it a go. And since the beginning of last year with no Chris Middleton on the court, he has averaged 1.29 fantasy points per minute. Now, I don't think they would bring him back unless he was 100%. So I'm expecting him to play 30 to 32 minutes in this game. And this is without Chris Middleton. Even if Middleton was playing, $6,500 is too cheap for him. This game should be close. A lot of these Bucks games are blowouts. This game, Vegas indicates that it shouldn't be a blowout. So I'm all over Drew Holiday at $6,500. Then Giannis Antetokounmpo at $11,800 is the clear top spin-up option for me. I think a lot of these games have been ended up blowing out, so his minutes really haven't been getting there. But whenever they do get there, he usually pays off this price tag. I said it a ton at the beginning of the year. He was priced around $10,000, and I just didn't really understand it. He's probably priced appropriately now, but I still think he's very much so in play. I will be playing him tonight personally. The Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Toronto Raptors at 205 over under. Raptors are currently 5.5-point favorites. The total actually dropped 7.5 points to 205, despite only 15% of the bets being on the under. So a lot of sharp money coming in on the under on here, which is unfortunate because I like some of the plays in here. The Cavaliers are going to be without Kevin Love, Larry Markkinen, Isaac Okoro. JB Bickerstaff before last game had mentioned that they want to bring down the minutes, or they want to add more players to the rotation because they are missing some of their key players, but that wasn't the case. They continued to run just an 8-man rotation last game. And so these guys are going to be playing big minutes, all of them. I said before yesterday, as soon as Larry Markkinen was ruled out, I was like, man, Evan Mobley's going to play 40 minutes again. And that's exactly what happened. He's had back-to-back games where he's played 40 minutes. That's likely going to continue. This Toronto Raptors has a small front court with Precious Achiuwa and Kem Birch. So, yeah, I mean, Evan Mobley should do work. But Jarrett Allen specifically at $6,600. I love Jarrett Allen today. On both sides. He has put up very, very dominant performances in each of these last 2 games without Kevin Love. Now Larry Markkinen's out. Isaac Okoro continues to be out. Jarrett Allen at $6,600, one of the best point per dollar plays on the slate. one of the best center plays on the slate, like them a ton. And then Ricky Rubio at $5,300. They did drop his price because he had a bad outing last time. But yeah, with them running such a short rotation, they will play Ricky Rubio next to Garland and Sexton at the same time. He's one of their better players. He shot 0 for 7. Obviously, that's not good, so he scored 0 real points. But he has been a really good permanent producer so far this year. And if we're going to see him play 30, 31 minutes, he is very, very undervalued at $5,300. I prefer him to than spending up to guys like Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. Move over to the Toronto Raptors. They're going to be without Pascal Siakam, Yuta Watanabe. Ken Burch has started the second half in each of the last 2 games over Precious Achiuwa, so there's a pretty big split between those 2 guys playing the center minutes. Not really on any of those guys, and actually before Scotty Barnes got hurt, we had seen at times that they would close the games out with Scotty Barnes at the 5. Now, I don't think that happens in this game against Cleveland, considering the size of their front court with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, two true centers out there. But Precious Achiuwa has been a very good permanent producer. If he plays 24, 26 minutes, he is starting, and if he's playing well, they will close with him. He could play mid to high 20s minutes and could destroy this price tag, but more of a tournament play given the volatility of that matchup. OG Anunoby, probably more of a cash play for me on both sides because we have seen that price rise. I mean, I told you guys at the beginning of the year when he was like $5,900, I'm like, this guy's going to be like 7-8K in a couple of weeks, and that is the case. He's $8,000 now, so he's priced appropriately. Whatever matchup, it's not a very good game environment, not really targeting him here. And then we get the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, a 216 over under. The Clippers are currently 2.5 point favorites. Kawhi Leonard, Serge Ibaka, Marcus Morris, Jason Preston are all out. Paul George continues to get disrespected. His ownership is going to continue to be low. $10,400 I still think is too cheap for him, to be honest. Since the beginning of the year, he has a 33.2% usage rating, 12 total rebound percentage, 25.4 assist percentage, while averaging 1.52 fantasy points per minute. Yeah, I mean, he should do pretty well. He did pretty well against them last year. He's clearly on right now. We've seen at times, I mean, if you remember going back to the Thunder days when he that 2-month span where he was a legitimate MVP candidate, he's kind of playing like that right now. Maybe we see a couple more games from him and then people will really start to recognize that and then his ownership will start going up. But until then, he's probably going to be low teens percentage owned. And I think he's a very, very good play, A-tier play for me on both sides. A much better play on Draftkings because on FanDuel, he's almost the same price as Giannis. You could definitely play both of them. You could play both of them on either side. I think there's plenty of value to do so. But really like Paul George. That's where I'm focusing on from the Clippers side, as well as Ivica Zubac. He is $4,000. Now, the problem with Zubac has always been not his permanent production, because whenever he's out there on the court, he is playing well. It's been the minutes. Killian Hayes has just now been ruled out, so that is an even bigger bump to Cade Cunningham. So I already love Cade Cunningham today, and that just confirms it even more. But yeah, with Zubac, yeah, the problem is never his production, it's how many minutes he's gonna get. Ty Lue has been very stubborn with playing small ball lineups against anybody, but we just saw this matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves and Karl Anthony Towns, and he almost completely matched the minutes played, 34.5 minutes to Karl Anthony Towns 36.5 minutes. So he's out there pretty much the entire time. I think that more times than not, we probably see that. And even if he does play mid-20s minutes, I think he gets there at $4,000. But the upside is immense if he continues to play 30-plus minutes. Him putting up 24 fantasy points in 34 minutes is a bottom-tier outcome for 34 minutes from Zubac. He has averaged almost a fantasy point per minute since the beginning of last year. I love Zubac today. One of the best value plays on the slate. Move to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are going to be without D'Angelo Russell. Patrick Beverley started in place of D'Angelo Russell last time out. He should start again, should see 30-plus minutes. He's been very good in each of his fantasy games from a permanent perspective all year. And if he's going to play 30-plus minutes, you kind of just have to play him at $4,000. One of the best, if not the best value play on the entire slate. I'm just giving out these core value plays, if you guys start with those, you're probably going to be doing pretty damn well. And then Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards, obviously without D'Angelo Russell, are going to see an uptick in usage. We saw last game without Russell. Edwards had a 33.6% usage rating, while Karl Anthony Towns had a 34.8% usage rating. So, yeah, like all those guys quite a bit, but specifically Patrick Beverley for the savings. Over on FanDuel, I don't think he's necessary because he's like $5,000. I don't think there's any reason to go to Patrick Beverley over there. Let's see if my mic is still working. It is still working. Awesome. Move over to the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Golden State Warriors at 214.5 over under. The Warriors are currently 9.5 point favorites. The Pelicans are going to be without Zion Williamson, Dalton Holmes. Now, this is one of the situations we're still waiting on news from because Brandon Ingram and Herbert Jones are both still questionable. Now, I'm not like adjusting my lineups according to this because I think there's other great plays on the slate, but from a tournament aspect, my bad, Brandon Ingram, if he is ruled out, Devontae Graham, if I knew that he was out right now, Devontae Graham and Jonas Valanciunas would be A-tier plays for me. And if he is active, I'm not considering anybody on this team. So it is a tough matchup against the Golden State Warriors. So that is part of the reason why I'm not really concerned about it. They had a tough outing last time out against the Kings, but I think a lot of that had to do with them being on the second leg of a back-to-back where they had just played big minutes the night before. And they were kind of on dead legs. And the second half, everything just really started tapering off, especially in the fourth quarter. In this game, if Ingram is out, I think these guys are going to be very, very low owned and should run this team almost entirely. And if the game ends up being competitive, I mean, damn. I mean, Jonas Valanciunas and Devontae Graham have a ton of upside. On the Golden State Warriors side, they're going to be without Klay Thompson, James Wiseman. Gary Payton is questionable. Payton ended up, he got into the rotation last game and injured himself, ended up coming back. So I think he's going to end up being fine and playable. Steph Curry is always viable. Not really considering him today. Big blowout risk here, especially if Brandon Ingram is out at home against a shorthanded Pelicans team who has shown like no signs of life really this year. So not really considering Curry. And then, outside of Curry, the production is very, very sporadic between everybody else on the Warriors. Not really considering anybody there. The Charlotte Hornets versus the Sacramento Kings at 231 over under. Kings are currently 2-point favorites. Now, this is the best game environment on the entire slate, but the prices are just kind of difficult to get around to. PJ Washington was doubtful. Now he is officially ruled out for the next 2 games. This is going to secure the minutes of Mason Plumlee. I was all over Plumlee in the games that PJ Washington was out. You see that he's played 37, 32 minutes with no PJ Washington. We are likely going to see that today. So I think Mason Plumlee at $5,700 is a very, very good center play. There's a lot of good center plays today. So more times than not, I'm probably going to be playing 2 of them today on Draftkings where you have that flexibility. FanDuel, you can only play 1. But fortunately, they have multi-position eligibility now. So you can get away with playing some centers that are listed as power forward over there. But over here on Draftkings, don't mind Mason Plumlee. I think he's a really good play. And then LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges. I mean, dude, I don't even know what's going on with Miles Bridges, to be honest. I still think he's a fine play here at 8,200. I suppose if you're on him, I would not talk you off of him. I probably prefer going down to a guy maybe like Terry Rozier. I think Terry Rozier had a pretty rough game last time because he was just running around guarding Steph Curry the entire game. So offensively, he just wasn't really very active. And maybe with Terry Rozier now back, Miles Bridges numbers start tailing off. Maybe the balls start production starts tailing off. Terry Rozier, $5,500, I believe, over here on FanDuel, which is just a crazy price tag. I don't understand that price tag, especially in this matchup. That's pretty much my thoughts on the Hornets. And then on the Sacramento Kings side, they have no injuries. Marvin Bagley obviously still out of the rotation. I think we see big minutes out of guys like Fox, Barnes, Holmes, Buddy Hield. All these guys are in very, very good spots. Both these teams like to run. So all these guys are more than viable on the slate. Harrison Barnes, you would have to think that his production starts tailing off, but the minutes are always going to be there for him. And then De'Aaron Fox, I mean, I'm just going to keep going back to the well with him, really on both sides, especially FanDuel, though, because once his shot starts falling, he's going to be very, very good because, I mean, the volume has been there. He just hasn't been hitting his shots, much like a guy we're going to talk about in this Knicks game in Damian Lillard. But we get the last game of the slate, the Indiana Pacers versus the Portland Trailblazers. 223.5 over under. The Trailblazers are currently 4.5 point favorites. TJ Warren, Isaiah Jackson are out. Jeremy Lamb and Malcolm Brogdon is questionable. So Malcolm Brogdon ended up on the injury report this morning or this afternoon. He is now questionable due to illness. So I think there is a relatively good chance that he ends up sitting here. If he does sit, it is a massive boost to Caris LeVert. I am likely going to be playing a good bit of Caris LeVert on both sides, regardless of Malcolm Brogdon playing or not. Even if Malcolm Brogdon plays, I still think that Caris LeVert is underpriced. But if Brogdon is out, I mean, this play is going to be wild. Caris LeVert, being back just in general ruins the value of pretty much everybody on the Pacers. His minutes were up to 31 last game. So I think that's a pretty good baseline for minutes. I think there's upside for more if he's playing well and he's shooting well. He's had a 35.8% usage rating through his first 3 games so far this year, averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Man, I like Caris LeVert quite a bit today. Not really considering anybody else. If Brogdon is ruled out, TJ McConnell becomes a lot more interesting. He probably succeeds 30 plus minutes as the starting point guard here. But obviously playing next to Caris LeVert is not a positive. On the Portland Trailblazers side, they have no injuries. I'm not considering Damian Lillard over here on Draftkings. I love him over on FanDuel. On FanDuel, he is $8,500. I think that's too cheap for him. I think there's a lot of upside in his price because on FanDuel, I'm talking about the volume has been there. He just is not knocking down his shots. He shot 27 times last game. This game should be competitive. This is one of the better game environments on the entire slate. I love Damian Lillard on FanDuel. DraftKings not as much. And then Norman Powell, I mean, since returning from injury, he's in the full swing of things. He should be playing 30 to 34 minutes, somewhere in that range. And he's only $4,700. He's one of the best small forward plays on the slate. I think he's pretty undervalued here. I think he should be mid 5K, so we're getting quite the discount at $4,700. And small forward is a weak position, so you could definitely go there like Norman Powell. But as the rundown for all those games, we really, like I mentioned, we don't have all that much news to wait for because even if these guys get ruled in, ruled out later on, that's really not going to change what I'm doing. Really like the route that we're going today currently. If you guys are part of the Patreon, Scary Terry way too cheap. Scary Terry is entirely too cheap on FanDuel. DraftKings, yeah. And if you guys are playing over here on Prize Picks, I think Terry Rozier's number is still sitting here. Yeah, it's still at 28.5 fantasy points. I like the over Terry Rozier here. I like the Rashawn Holmes over 31.5 points, fantasy points. Clippers will start Jackson, Bledsoe, George, Batum, and Zubats as expected. And I will say, a good strategy, if Brandon Ingram is in fact ruled out, you guys can come over here to Prize Picks and get some value with taking the over on Jonas Valanciunas and Devontae Graham. I know we kind of got burned by it last time out, but as long as this game is competitive, if Brandon Ingram were to be out, Devontae Graham at 27.5 fantasy points is pretty much a shoo-in. And same with Jonas Valanciunas, to be honest. And then you would end up bringing it back with one of the Warriors, likely Steph Curry, because if that game is competitive, or for Devontae Graham and Jonas Valanciunas to get there, that game has to be competitive, and so you're going to need some correlation, a bring back, likely with a guy like Steph Curry. You can 5x your money right there if you get those correct. But as of right now, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as earlier. I like the over on Terry Rozier, and I like the over on Drew Holiday at 31 fantasy points because, I mean, he should play 30 to 32 minutes in this game as long as it's competitive. He has averaged nearly 1.3 fantasy points per minute since the beginning of last year with no Chris Middleton. Seems like a pretty good spot for Drew Holiday, not to mention that the Knicks have been playing pretty piss poor defense. Drew's tempting DK in the last spot. Yeah, I currently have Drew in myself over on Draftkings. Yeah, I think playing him and Giannis is completely fine. Their minutes are largely going to be staggered today. I mean, there's no reason for Budenholzer not to have both those guys off the court at the same time. I think that their minutes are going to be pretty staggered. Do you like LeVert over 19.5 points? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Fox or Dame on FanDuel? Gonna be Dame for me. We like Bamba over Mobley. Vacuum for FanDuel. I do like Bamba more than Mobley. I mean, if you want to pivot off and go to Mobley, I think that's definitely fine. That was the last spot I was pondering with. So if you guys have a lean right there, I think both are great plays today. So, do you like Steven Adams is too cheap going up against Washington? Yeah, Steven Adams is too cheap going up against Washington, the #1 front court matchup you could get for a center. So yeah, Steven Adams is in a very, very good spot at $4,700. Thoughts on Daveon Mitchell? Yeah, I mean, his minutes have been trending upwards. I don't mind him. They have a ton of guys on the Charlotte side that they could use Daveon Mitchell on. If you need a sub 4K guy, Mitchell is a guy you could go to. You could also go to Jared Vanderbilt. But more times than not, when I've been creating my lineups today, I have not been going past... I haven't been getting below $4,000. Am I crazy for feeling dicey about Bamba and our FanDuel with Mobley's minutes and situation right now? Yeah, I mean, go for it, man. I mean, like, we're talking about, like, very, like, splitting hairs between, like, a fancy projection. Well, like, one fancy point projection. Like, you could play Mobley over Bamba. That's fine. Wendell over Bamba. I mean, it is definitely closer than I think most would think. I slightly prefer Bamba, though. 4,400 guard and cash. Already have Beverly and Cade. Went double center with Zubats and Plumlee. $4,400 guard. See if there's anybody down here, because I don't think there's anybody on my cheat sheet as of right now. I would probably go with Malik Beasley here at 4,400. Given no D'Angelo Russell. I don't know if he ends up closing these games out. He played 27 minutes last game. He played 32 minutes the game before, but there was no Patrick Beverly. I think Beasley's fine at 4,400. If that's the range you're looking for, 4,400 guard. Same starting lineup out of the Orlando Magic. Thoughts on LeVert? Should he finally get full run of minutes? I mean, he played 31 minutes last time. So if I get 31 minutes out of Caris LeVert here, I'm feeling really good. So I think that's a good baseline, and I think there's upside for more minutes. Any love for Bobby Portis? Bobby Portis is a pretty interesting spot today. Obviously, very good per minute producer. He's been almost 1.3 fantasy points per minute since the beginning of last year with no Chris Middleton. There's obviously no Brook Lopez. So I think there is a somewhat decent chance that he is in the closing lineup. I mean, it's like a 20% chance that happens. So definitely a volatile play. But I think, in that position, or with him being like center eligible, I think there's just much better plays in that price range at that position. You think Drew is on a minutes restriction? I'm expecting Drew to play anywhere from 30 to 32 minutes today. I don't think they're going to push him to like 36, 38 minutes, but I think he'll play 30 to 32 minutes, which is plenty for him with no Chris Middleton, given the matchup. Durant or George on DK and Cash? I'm going with George here. Thoughts on Corey Joseph with Hayes out? I'm not really on Corey Joseph, although he does get a bump. Holmes and Barnes or Plumlee and Barnes? Or I don't know if you're talking about Harrison or Scotty. I'm assuming you're talking about Harrison because you included Holmes and you don't want to have two guys from the same team. I would still play Holmes and Barnes though, because Rashawn Holmes really doesn't take up much usage. So LeVert on both sides, yeah, I think that's definitely fine. 5,900 for a guard on DK. Let's take a look. Probably Buddy Hield for me at 5,700. Cole Anthony and LeVert versus Devontae Graham and Miles Bridges, assuming Brogg and Brandon Ingram both miss. Okay, so if they're both out, I definitely prefer the Bridges side. I'm just not on Cole Anthony, to be honest. Thanasis will continue to start over Bobby. He will bring the spark off the bench. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just the thing with Bobby is that I think that there's like a better likelihood that Bobby closes than Thanasis. Although there's a good chance that neither of those guys close. Because I think the Knicks probably close with Julius Randle at the 5, and then it just gets really small. Any interest in Derek White? Yeah, Derek White's a good play. We winning on any news tee? No, not really. Nothing that's going to change anything that I'm on today. Brandon Ingram and Malcolm Brogdon are questionable, but I mean, it doesn't really affect anything I'm doing today. Favorite power forward GPP on FanDuel? Probably Mo Bamba, Giannis. 5.7K forward for cash. Let's take a look. Jaren Jackson Jr. Yeah, it's Jaren Jackson. Like him a bit more than Buddy. Do you like PG-13 more than Cat tonight? Yeah, that's pretty close. I probably like PG more than Cat, just given off of position scarcity at small forward as opposed to center. There's so many good center plays that I just play the value plays there and then spend up for Paul George. Favorite 6.8K guard. LeVert is 6'8 or 6'9. He's 6'8. So it's Karis LeVert and then Drew Holiday would be right behind him. Holmes or Drew? Drew for me. How does Van Fleet to score 20 tonight sound? That seems kind of like a stretch. A lot of these times when Fred's shot is not falling, he will just start distributing, and I don't want that because he knows when his shot's off. Rubio or Bev? I mean, I'll take the savings in Bev. I mean, it's Beverly, but dude, Ricky Rubio is in a very, very sneaky spot right now, especially after he burned some people last time. And, you know, honestly, he was low owned last time, and then he had a bad game, so he's going to be even lower owned today. Ricky Rubio, one of the better low owned tournament options tonight. You think Windler gets a good run? No, not really. Favorite plays from because the Cleveland Cavaliers, I mean, they've been running an 8-man rotation no matter who they have active, and it's all those minutes are going to the starters outside of Dean Wade and then plus Ricky Rubio off the bench. Any interest in Malik Monk? Malik Monk is a fine play, but given his position, I just prefer Norman Powell, Desmond Bane a little bit more. Zubats are precious. FanDuel, Zubats for sure. Daveon Mitchell, a good option tonight for value. I think he's fine. You know, his minutes are trending upwards. He has a couple guys on the opposite side that he can be used to guard. You know, I think his assists last game were quite the anomaly. I don't think that usually happens. So he is pretty shooting dependent. Like, if his three-point shot's not falling, he's probably not going to be that good of a play. But given his price tag, I think he's fine. But again, guys, more times than not today when I've been creating my lineups, I haven't been digging really below $4,000. Kojo, a decent play if he starts? Yeah, I suppose he's a pretty decent play. What is he priced now? He's at $3,300. No Killian Hayes. I just really don't know what his minutes upside is. He probably sees mid-20s minutes. Plumlee safe for cash or Triple J? Yeah, so I probably go with... That's tough, man. I'd probably go with Plumlee there. Plumlee is probably a little bit safer. Jaren Jackson kind of streaky. Does Giannis or George do better tonight? I like Giannis more. Edwards also takes away from Cat more than anyone does from PG-13 most games. Reggie ain't doing all that again. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Reggie went off last game. That was wild. And I've played Reggie Jackson so many times this year, and he has played so many minutes, but he has not done anything until last game. Karl Anthony Towns double tonight. I like that. 4.1K utility DK. Beverly and Zubats. Holmes, Simmons, or Plumlee and Powell. Powell and Plumlee for sure. Turner or Carter Jr. I like Carter more. LeVert, Adams, and Rozier, or PG-13 Zubats and Mitchell and DK Cash. I probably lean the LeVert side there. Fading Giannis and Cash, okay. Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm playing Giannis everywhere, but there are a lot of good plays today, so I don't think you have to play Giannis, especially given his price tag. It's really easy to get up to him given the 4K values, but Yeah, you could definitely get away with fading Giannis. Graham and Allen or LeVert and Carter. LeVert and Carter. Cade is way better than Jalen. Jalen bust Green. I mean, Cade has like a, what did I say earlier? Like a 27 true shooting percentage so far. Been pretty rough. Jalen Green is the biggest bust since Marvin Bagley. Dude, it's been like 2 weeks. Yeah, this guy is really hating. This dude's got some problems at home. I can sense it. John Morant and Triple J or Sabonis and Buddy Hield for cash. I'm probably going to go with the Jaw side there. Beal and Dinwiddie or on FanDuel, definitely Beal. Oh, Beal and Dinwiddie. I wouldn't necessarily play both of them. I do like Beal a lot, though. I'm not really on Dinwiddie. Pat Bev and Giannis or Bridges and Fox. Probably the Giannis side. Holiday, Cade, Bane, Triple J, Allen, Beverly, Giannis, Plumlee, GPP. Love it, man. Powell and Drew or Beasley and LeVert. Let's do Drew and Powell there. Holiday, Cunningham, LeVert, Triple J, Zubats, Beverly, Giannis, Jared Allen, DK, Smallfield, GPP. Yeah, I like it. Stars and scrubs all day, all the way. Really, today I'm more on the mid-range guys. Like I like paying up for Giannis, but outside of that, I mean, I'm getting a couple of the obvious values in, but I'm living in the mid-range for the most part today. Norman Powell or Batum, Powell, Zubats and Batum or Steven Adams and Jared Vanderbilt. I'm going to go with the, probably the Zubats side. Jalen Green, easy rookie of the year. No. That's Josh Giddey's to win. Or to lose, rather. Curry over 12.5 assists plus rebounds. I like that. I mean, it just all depends if that game blows out. If that game's competitive, I like the over 12.5. Favorite stud besides Giannis? Probably Paul George for me tonight. Karl Anthony Towns right behind that. Is Bledsoe 4.2K on DK a terrible play? Man, I just like really can't get to him. I mean, the minutes of the Clippers have just been so sporadic. It's really just whoever is playing better. So it could be Man, it could be Kennard, Batum, Bledsoe. I mean, there's a lot of guys. And then on top of him having to get those minutes, he has to perform as well. So it's just like there's a lot that has to go right for Eric Bledsoe to even pay off that price tag. There's other spots that are much, much better in my opinion. New fire on the TV. I didn't even notice. FanDuel shooting guard under 7,200. Well, if actually, yeah, it's Karis LeVert at 7,000. Rubio, Drew, Edwards, Allen over Fox, Dame, LeVert, Zubats in our FanDuel. Nah, not really for me. I like the second more. Bev, Cade, Bane, but I mean, it's not like it made me pause for a second. But no, I like the Fox side more. I think there's just so much upside in Fox, Dame, and LeVert, and then Zubats as well if he continues to play this many minutes against Cat. Any prize picks for us? Yeah, so we'll go over some prize picks plays. So yeah, I like the Terry Rozier and Drew Holiday over fantasy points. They're still at the same as they were this morning. If you want to add to that, I don't mind the DeJounte Murray 39.5 fantasy points. I like going the over there. This game should stay competitive, so I like that. And then Rashawn Holmes over 31.5 fantasy points. And if you guys want to tail me over here, you can use code Taylor, TAYLOR, when signing up and depositing. You guys get a 100% match bonus up to $100 instantly in your account. You deposit it, you can start playing with it immediately, and you can tail these picks. I like the over Cade Cunningham 26 fantasy points. The only problem here is the blowout risk. Most of the time on prize picks, actually, if you think that a play is really good, but you're worried about the... Okay, so we get the starting lineup. Josh Jackson is in the starting lineup now. Okay, so we get Cunningham starting at point guard, Sadiq Bey, Josh Jackson, Jeremy Grant, and Isaiah Stewart. So that makes Josh Jackson a pretty interesting play. How much is he? He's $4,500. So if you need a small forward play, Josh Jackson definitely in play here. Because it's never his minutes it's never his production, because whenever he's out there on the court, he's usually chucking. Definitely an interesting play. I still prefer Norman Powell and Desmond Bane to him at the small forward position, but I think Malik Beasley is going to be very popular today. And Beasley is just $100 less than Josh Jackson. So if you want a pivot off of Malik Beasley, you can go up to a guy like Josh Jackson, which you'll probably get at lower ownership, since we got this news just 15 minutes before lock, 15 minutes before this game even starts. But to go back over to Prize Picks, yeah, if you guys think a play is really good, but you are worried about the blowout, you can play the NBA first half. And so you don't have to be really concerned about the blowout risk at all. So a guy like Cade Cunningham, over 13 fantasy points in the first half, I like that a lot more than 26 fantasy points in a full game, because I don't have to worry about them getting blown out away in Brooklyn as like 11-point dogs. But especially with Cade Cunningham running the point now, we should see some more assist opportunities. It's good that Josh Jackson is out there rather than a guy like Corey Joseph, who was going to take up assist opportunities away from Cade Cunningham. So this is an even bigger bump for Cade Cunningham. I like Cade quite a bit tonight. Oh, you said for GPP. I got you, Steph. Yeah, I think that's definitely fine in GPP. Even though I think our team is pretty GPP heavy with LeVert, but we'll see. Okay, is Durant getting full run? No word on his minutes. He actually isn't even officially active. They said that he's still probable. I'm expecting him to play. I think they're just going to run him through pregame, see if there was any last second setbacks. I think he should be good to go. I don't think they've been very cautious with everybody, with him, Brook Lopez, Middleton. Well, I mean, Middleton is sick, but they've been really cautious with their injuries. And so I'm expecting him to play 30 to 32 minutes. I don't think they would bring him back unless he was 100%. And again, averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute since the beginning of last year with no Chris Middleton on the court. Does PrizePicks have PayPal? If so, I'm getting it right now using your code. Is it an app? Yep, they have an app, and they do accept PayPal, I'm pretty sure. I don't use PayPal personally, but I'm fairly certain that they take PayPal, because actually, I deposited on PayPal a long time ago when I first started playing on PrizePicks, and I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, if you guys could make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video up. That is the #1 way of supporting me. Thoughts on McCollum? Not really on McCollum today. Really just putting all my Portland Trailblazers eggs in the Damian Lillard basket. But yeah, you like Josh Jackson starting? I mean, definitely a boost. I think he's a good pivot off a popular Malik Beasley. But again, I still prefer Norman Powell and Desmond Bane in that range. 4.4K power forward as a last man in. What site are you talking about, Chase? Draftkings or FanDuel? Yeah, you guys gotta specify if you're talking about positional stuff. Specify if you're playing FanDuel or Draftkings, so I can help you out. Fading Jackson thinks him starting line takes away from his usage. Yeah, I mean, I'm not on Josh Jackson. If people are gonna swarm to Josh Jackson, I mean, I'm fine with being on the other end of that. Pacers or Blazers tonight? I like the Blazers. Especially, I think there's a pretty good chance that Brogdon ends up sitting. Bamba over Carter on FanDuel. Yep, I like Bamba more. Just slightly, though. Jordan Poole or Triple J? Triple J for sure. Keldon or Jackson Jr.? I like Jackson Jr. more. Ball playing tonight? He should be. He is probable. Hield or Triple J? I like Triple J more. Help me, LOL. Buddy, Poole or Plumlee last piece in? I'm probably going with Plumlee there. Does PrizePicks work in Ohio? I'm not sure. It seems like they're getting a new state like every couple weeks. So, I mean, there's a good likelihood I would make sure to go and try. Eubanks 4,400 on FanDuel, I think. Oh, okay. So, what were you asking, Chase? DK 4.4K forward. Let's look. Yeah, I mean, it's tough down here. I mean, my favorite point per dollar guy down here is probably Jared Vanderbilt, and then use that money to upgrade elsewhere. But if you don't want to budge your lineup and just keep it at 4.4, with his 4.4K play, I mean, maybe probably Kyle Anderson, I guess, in a vacuum, but man, that's gross. Connor, you asked 6,500 or less power forward. Let's take a look. Okay. It is definitely Wendell Carter Jr. for me at $6,400. Triple J or Poole like Triple J, Ant-Man and Wendell Carter, or John Morant and Triple J. I'm probably going with the Jaw side there. Wow, that's crazy, Matt. How'd you know? Because I definitely have all three of those guys. 8,100 utility on DK. Let's take a look. I mean, if you're just playing cash games, it's probably OG Anunoby for me. I mean, it's probably OG Anunoby regardless. Yeah, it's OG. I was going to say I would consider CJ in tournaments over him. DraftKings, any forward under 6,500. Yep, Wendell Carter Jr. Powell or Portis. I like Powell definitely more. Powell or Batum, definitely Powell. Best center under 6.5K. Take a look. That's tough. It's probably Rashawn Holmes at 65. Harold Holmes or Turner. Holmes for sure. Steven Adams or Miles Turner. See, that's got me like, I don't like Miles Turner, but straight up over Steven Adams, I probably prefer Turner. Any love for Miles Bridges tonight on FanDuel? I mean, I guess he's good now. I mean, he's making improvements. I mean, it's much like LaMelo Ball. This team's very young. Everybody's improving on this team. But Terry Rozier is back, and I'm expecting him to be a lot more active today. I think last game Terry Rozier was just running around chasing Curry. And so Miles Bridges continued to have a big output on offense. But yeah, I think Miles Bridges is still fine. Give us a prize pick lock of the night. It's probably still the same as earlier. Terry Rozier over fantasy points and Drew Holiday over fantasy points. Ant or LeVert, definitely Ant. If playing Val and Graham and Ingram is out, should we play Curry because you need the game to stay close? Yes. If you are running that strategy, you want to bring it back because those guys aren't paying off their price tags unless the game is competitive, because they need to get their full allotment of minutes. And so, yeah, you would want to bring it back with the guy, and Curry is probably the guy you want to get to. Was listening to the stream on the way home. You mentioned a potential GPP play on DK playing a lot of minutes and maybe under-owned. Do you recall what you said? I might have been talking about Ricky Rubio. OG or Harrison Barnes. I like OG a bit more. DK Cash, Beverly, Cunningham, George, Giannis, Allen, Mitchell, Powell, Zubats. Run it, man. I like it. Any thoughts on Franz Wagner? I mean, Gary Harris is back now, so I don't know how much that cuts into his minutes. Just because they've been so willing just to play the young guys a ton of minutes. I don't mind Franz Wagner. In that price range, though, I do prefer Desmond Bane and Buddy Hield. Best center plays, Allen and Zubats. Yeah, those are two of the best center options for sure. Thoughts on Reggie Jackson? I mean, Reggie's going to play big minutes every game. We knew that. We have been playing him quite a bit. You know, he hasn't really been panning out, but he's been getting the playing time. He's been shooting pretty poorly. He finally put together a complete game last time out. That's probably going to raise his ownership some, but it remains the same. I mean, he's going to play a lot, going to shoot a considerable amount. Could definitely pay off this price tag again. Showed his upside last time out when he's hitting his shots. Drew and Sabonis or Ja and Wendell Carter. So it's probably John Wendell Carter. It would be it's John Carter. Good luck tonight, everyone. Have a good feeling. Good luck, Brandon. Same starting lineup out of the Memphis Grizzlies. Hey, I appreciate the subscription. Yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed already, would really appreciate you guys doing that. I am here every single day, dropping my video out in the morning. I think that's a good primer for the slate. And then this is the final stream before everything locks. Hayward or Mobley for sure. If Ingram is active, 8,100 on DK seems too cheap, right? I just don't know how many minutes they would give him. Plus, there's potential blowout risk there. I'm probably avoiding Brandon Ingram. Garland or Drew. Drew for me. DK Cash, Beverly, Cunningham, Powell, Giannis, Allen, Edwards, Jackson Jr., and Zubats. Run it, man. I love that lineup. Love it. Mobley or Triple J on FanDuel. Mobley for me. Any DeJounte Love on any site. I mean, dude, I like DeJounte Murray a ton in this spot in a vacuum. I think he's much more playable on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. And, you know, honestly, he's probably priced appropriately. But, man, it's just, like, weird seeing him up in this price range. Where I do like him a ton at is on PrizePicks. I mean, PrizePicks is projections at 39.5. I think his projection should be more in that 43-point range. So, I like Murray more over on PrizePicks. Garland or I just answered that. No more questions. All right. We got 4 minutes till lock, guys. So if you guys have any more questions, make sure to get them in here. LeVert, Adams, and Rozier, or PG-13, Zubats, and Mitchell and DK Cash. Yeah, I think I got that question earlier. I probably prefer the LeVert side. Rozier or Graham. I probably just play. Well, that game is later, so I will say it's Rozier as of right now. But if Brandon Ingram is ruled out, I would pivot to Devontae Graham. Prospect boy, thank you so much for the sub. We liking LeVert tonight. We are loving LeVert tonight. What do you think about going down from Plumlee to Zubats and then going up from Bane to LeVert? Hey, sounds like something I would do today. Thoughts on Vassell? Not really on Vassell. Yeah, I mean, Doug McDermott's back. I'm not really on him. A little less than 3 minutes, guys. Make sure to lock in your lineups. Don't submit a dead lineup. Let's get it, Kurt. Yeah, let's get a Bing tonight. Any of you guys playing the new Call of Duty today? Probably going to grind some games out after this, since, you know, this is like the light. It is eerily weird. I feel like something weird's going to happen where we're going to get like some late scratch, you know, like 10 minutes after lock, because it's weird that they're with a 9-game slate, you know, pretty full slate. There's really no injuries that we have to monitor all that closely. Man, I got a feeling Sabonis goes off tonight, and I don't have him. I mean, the team's a lot different now. With LeVert back, I mean, it really eats into everything that Sabonis is doing. Wagner, Powell, or Triple J and Batum. Probably Triple J and Batum there. LeVert and Graham, or Edwards and Powell. Yeah, again, it all depends on the injury news on Brandon Ingram, because I don't like Graham if Ingram is healthy. If Brandon Ingram was out, then I would love the LeVert side a lot more. But as of now, I just play it safe and play Edwards and Powell. What you play on? I play on Xbox One. I play on PC. Being 100% on Cunningham and LeVert is going to burn me. I can feel it coming. God, I hope not. Too quiet. Yeah, man. It's eerie. You enjoyed your time on Vanguard today? Yeah, man. Probably going to wait around for some news, and then I'll try to squeeze in some games. 30 seconds to lock, guys. How long have I been live for? 59 minutes? We'll make it a full hour. Yet again. If you guys find these streams informational at all, make sure to drop a like. Pretty easy to do. Subscribing. I mean, this is the #1 way of supporting me. Would really appreciate it if you guys could do that stuff. Thoughts on Vassell? I'm not on Vassell. Bev, Cunningham, Bane, Triple J, Zubats, Morant, LeVert, George. I love that lineup. Love it. How did you fit that? I guess that's... Oh, you faded Giannis. That's how. I was wondering because I couldn't fit anything like that with Giannis today. Final: Holiday, Cade, LeVert, Triple J, Allen, Beverly, Giannis, and Zoo. Hey man, we may or may not have the same exact lineup tonight, but it is lock time. I really appreciate you guys being here and showing out some support. I will be back here tomorrow. Big UFC card tomorrow if you guys are UFC fans. How many games we got tomorrow? I think it was only like 6 games. Actually, let me check. We have, 6 games tomorrow. Or actually, it's a 5-game slate tomorrow that starts 30 minutes later. So, pretty simple slate. And we got a ton of news for tomorrow. With the news that we already got, I'm pretty excited. Lowry's questionable. I think Mitchell has already been, or one of Lowry and Mitchell are already ruled out, and the other one's questionable. I'm going to start looking into that a bit more tonight. If you guys are part of the in-game stream, I'll see you guys later. Appreciate you guys being here. I will see you guys in the morning. Best of luck. See you guys at the top. And until